Yeah, just to put Houston to bed, just want to give them credit. Houston and Coach Sampson and their culture and their mindset on the defensive end is very impressive. That team and their program, they got a heck of a shot to win this whole thing. Not to mention win the league, which might be just as hard as the whole thing. So yeah, they've got things rolling and that was an impressive performance on them. So I'm giving them a lot of credit. That doesn't mean that I'm not short-sighted or excited enough to think that we didn't play well and we didn't execute our game plan. So that coupled with how hard they play and their defensive approach really turned into a lopsided loss there in Houston. But yeah, we gotta turn the page. And I told these guys, and after that game, this league can eat you alive if you hold on to things. So we got to figure out how to turn the page quick. And yesterday we did that with a first day of prep for Kansas State, a good Kansas State team that is coming here on Tuesday. So we'll have a second day of prep today, and we'll go a lot harder and practice today and work through some more of that on the court. We kind of did more film work as opposed to court work yesterday. So we'll get after it today and get ready for Kansas State coming here on Tuesday.
Thank you, Coach. We'll open it up for questions now. Please use the raised hand feature for questions with Coach Eilert. We will start with Kevin Kinder.
Hey, Josh, how's it going this morning?
Good. How are you, Kevin?
Not bad. I was looking at foul totals, and I know you had to kind of be cautious of that when the roster was diminished a lot, so you didn't get in trouble there. But it seems like there might be a balance that you're striving for, that you're going to get some naturally when you're contesting shots better, playing better defense. Do you have necessarily a number in mind or acceptable kind of fouls? And where do you think, that balance is right now?
Yeah, it's definitely changed. That's the one of the challenges, trying to go from zero depth to plenty of guard depth for sure now. So we had to be very, very careful and very strategic in the first 9 games to stay out of foul trouble, because one guy sitting on the bench could have crippled us, and so our preparation up to that point had a lot to do with our strategic defensive approach to stay out of foul trouble, and not to mention try to keep Jesse out of foul trouble, which we don't even have right now to work with. So yes, trying to turn that page mid-season and try to be more aggressive in our approach has certainly been what we're trying to do, but it doesn't mean that some of the muscle memory of basketball and everything you've kind of been taught in the first 10, 12 games is hard to, turn up the pressure late. It's kind of like, if you're a basketball coach, if you have the opportunity, you have the depth, you want to turn the pressure up early. And if you have to back off, you back off. And then
Raekwon obviously has had foul trouble in a couple of his most recent games, but his effort is obviously there on defense. Is that, again, just trying to get him in the comfort zone of what he can and can't do early?
Yeah, he's got to get that mindset of he's as good as anybody in the country with his pump fakes, and he can get people off the ground and put them in a bad position to fit defensively. But he's so athletic and so quick twitch that it works the other way as well. So he just got to be true to himself and stay on the floor and move laterally as much as he does vertically. And if we can be more, it's what is his third, fourth game in the equation. So that stuff's going to come with some time. A lot of it's just exuberance and excitement being out on the floor. Now he's just got to play a little bit more. He's just got to play a smarter game of basketball on the defensive end.
Our next question comes from Justin Jackson.
Hey, good morning, Coach. How are you?
Good. How are you, Justin?
I'm good. Hey, a question on K-State and Coach Tang with Jerome. You look at what he did last year in his first year. He basically had Noel as a holdover, and then he brought in a ton of transfers, takes him to the Elite Eight. Comes back again this year. He's basically got one starter coming back, a bunch of transfers, and they're having a pretty solid year. With the transfer portal being what it is in college athletics and what it's probably going to be in the future, has anyone ever stopped and asked Coach Tang how he's able to get transfers to blend so well and so quickly?
I haven't had that conversation with him yet. No, but he has done a great job there, and I think the K-State community is very excited about having him and that staff there in Manhattan, and him in charge, and he's done a fabulous job there in Manhattan. And I look back to some of the film from last year, and they had, guys like Desi Sills. He was huge for them late in the year, and just a third, fourth, offensive-minded downhill left-handed guard that nobody even talks about to complement Noel and Keontae Johnson, not to mention, Tomlin at the 5 that they've lost since then, through unfortunate situation. But he put together a lot of talent there, last year, and he's doing kind of the same thing this year with a lot of new guys, and even floating some freshmen out there as well that are playing very significant minutes for him and giving him a good production. They're not the team that they were last year, but they certainly have a really, really resilient group that, find a way to win. You look down, and every time I turn the TV on, it seemed like, I'd put the Cats on and I'd watch them, sometimes with a struggle late, but they always, I think 4 out of 5 games there for a stretch, they end up in overtime, but they found a way to, that resilient group and that culture, they found a way to win those hard games down the stretch and then overtime, or send it to overtime and figure out how to win it in overtime. So credit to them and them finishing games and having that discipline.
And I know obviously what you're going through this year is not the perfect example to go by, but you kind of saw it from a side seat last year with Coach Huggins bringing the new guys, trying to get them to gel. So you have some experience with it. Obviously, what you're going through this year, if things had been in a perfect world and you had everyone, it could be a different story. But could you just kind of talk about, what it's like in today's college athletic world to, maybe have something that looks good on paper, but you got to go out and, it's more than just what it looks like on paper, I'm guessing.
No, yeah, it takes time to mesh. It takes time to build that chemistry. I was probably naive enough to think that, we're just going to float 3 guys into an equation. It's all going to work out, perfectly, and all they're going to complement each other and everything like that. And that takes time. A lot of times teams, bring in a lot of transfers, and there's a lot of new personalities and new faces, and they work together all summer, and they might go on a foreign tour, but they're all there from day one. Not to mention those teams that you can hold on to guys over 2 or 3 year period, and they have incredible chemistry. And so we're trying to, it's not lost on me. I knew chemistry was going to be a problem, especially bringing guys in as late as we did in the summer, but then trying to float guys in to the equation mid-season has been a challenge in itself. And, it's just something we're working through each day. And like I told him, we took a big lump, a heck of a loss there in Houston to a very, really good team, but we can't lose sight of, each other and lose faith in each other. We just got to pick ourselves up and put our boots on and go to work. And that's what we did yesterday. We got to turn the page and figure out a way to not hold on to that and move on to the next one.
Thank you, Coach. Appreciate it.
Members of the media, the question queue is empty right now. Please use the raised hand feature to ask a question. We will go to John Antonic.
Looking here, Josh, at their stats, and there's some things that are oddities. They don't really shoot it great from 3. They're turning it over more than their opposition. pretty good rebounding advantage. What is it? Is this just a team that just grinds games out? Is that what you see from them?
I mean, similar to a lot of these teams that we're playing, I mean, they're a really, really good offensive rebounding team. But on the other side, I mean, if they don't rebound as well on defensive end. They're doing, their lifeline in a lot of ways is their transition offense and trying to get easy buckets, just like we've kind of preached a little bit here, trying to figure out how we could score. That sometimes in the half court setting in this league and everybody sets their defense, it gets really tough. And so we got to figure out ways to, run out and get some easy buckets. And that's what they're trying to do as well. But they're trying to figure this out, and they had a really good win. They really, UCF went to Manhattan and it didn't seem like they were ready for that challenge. And K-State really took it to them from the jump and really jumped on them and took full advantage of that entire game. So they had a slow start coming out of the break. You watched the Chicago State game. They seemed a little out of sorts, and it sounds like, they were out off 10 games, and it didn't seem like the same team that played against Chicago State as it did UCF. They really changed their mentality, and they really took it to them.
One other thing here real quick. I noticed they've shot 112 more free throws than their opposition. Is that a concern, keeping them off the line?
Yeah, it's certainly a concern, but we can't get too tied up in that. We gotta play as aggressive as we need to play, and if we end up sending them to the line, we end up sending them to the line. So we can't get too tied up in that, but we just got to key on who we need to key on and make sure certain guys aren't beating us.
Next question comes from Mike Kazaza.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Good. How are you, Mike?
I'm great. Thank you. Just kind of piggybacking off of something you've been mentioning about blending guys in and just the additions, old stuff. I get that. But you talked about offense you want to have and playbook and all that. And I'm thinking here that you want guys to do what you have planned to do, follow the pages in the playbook and do that. How much changes when you figure out what guys can do that either doesn't work or just won't work, or that can add and be maybe separate or unique? And then it doesn't make any sense to ignore that, like take advantage of a strength.
Go back to the Houston game and trying to figure out how we could score. We had, shots didn't fall for us. We had some really good uncontested looks, and, they did a good job of trapping Kerr and getting the ball out of Kerr's hands. But we didn't take advantage of the mismatches we had on the backside of it. And what I mean by that is, get out of that trap, you should have a lot of one more passes and let ball start sticking when we got out of the trap, which allowed, Houston to, which they're as good a closeout team and good a rotational team as anybody in the country, anybody that I've seen by far. So as soon as we got that ball out of the trap, we didn't make them pay for it. That ball started sticking, and we didn't make that next pass, which we looked at and where we really examined on film yesterday. All the passes that we missed that we could have got, uncontested, good looks. Whether they fell or not, I don't know whether they fell or not. But certainly you got a heck of a lot better chance of making an uncontested look than trying to force something that's not there.
Okay, and then just one more. What have you learned about some of the new guys or the effect they have on players who were in those first 9 or 10 games, just offensively, defensively, just things that jump to your mind as you're asked the question?
Well, I mean, with those guys that I give a lot of credit to the guys that came in, that played that backup role in that game against Houston. They came in and kind of held serve for us when things weren't going well. And I certainly hope those guys have the confidence to know that they're going to help us win just as much as maybe the starting 5. So we need everybody, from top to bottom to contribute in a meaningful way. What that meaningful way is, it's going to be different from one guy to the next. And certainly roles are changing, and whatever that role is that can help us win, we need to figure out what it is and pinpoint it and play that role.
All right, thanks.
Questions for Coach, please use the raised hand feature. Coach Eilert, that seems to be all that we have for today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.